Hey guys, just wanted to make a real quick video on like Pilates type stuff and getting a neutral spine. So it's really common in like today, modern society, not that I knew what it was like before I was alive, but to have like bad posture and excessive curvature in the lumbar and thoracic. And so what I mean by that is, imagine if I was standing up, in fact, so imagine if I was standing up, right, and this is our lumbar curve, so like excessive here and up through the back here, and the mid back is our thoracic, and we get this posture happening. I might just come to here. So this is excessive, yeah, and then the neck kinks back, if you can see that, okay? That's an exaggeration, but ultimately it happens, and it happens quite a lot, and I've got quite bad posture myself, and it's something I've worked on. And I know some of you have too, and hopefully this is going to help. And what's really helped me understand it and improve it is Pilates. So I started having one-on-one Pilates sessions for a few weeks, and it gradually got better. And so I'm just going to demonstrate the one key thing that's helped me now, and breathing is another huge thing. Yeah, I guess that helps this. So I don't know how this video is going to go, but we'll just try it and we'll see if you can understand it. So here is, I guess, the pose and the posture that's helped me bring that excessive curvature into more of a neutral position. I'll just first quickly show you the neutral position. So obviously this is excessive, and neutral would be hips under, ribs down, chest up, head straight. Okay, again, I don't know how that looks, but I'm sure it looks a lot better than that. And so this is how we've done it. So lying down, you can have your feet on the wall. You don't have to. You can have them on the ground. You just don't want them straight out. And all we're doing is pressing the lower back into the mat. So you can imagine this is, you can see my back's arched here. That's lordosis, right? We don't want that. We just want a little bit of tension through the core, and we're going to push our lower back into the mat. That's the first thing. Once our core and our hips are in a nice neutral position, and we don't want to overcook it, okay, that way. We want it to be nice and neutral, and we don't want to be overworking. So we don't want to be like squeezing the glutes to get in this position. We're just going to feel the transverse abdominis, okay, is a little bit tight, not overly tight, and we're in that nice flat back position, okay? You can see now that my upper back is still in a bad position and my head's tilted up like this, okay? What we want to do is flatten the head out and think about relaxing the shoulders down. Okay, so this is how it was, okay, and flattened out, shoulders down. And you can sort of imagine the scapula and the armpits rotating down and under to get our thoracic extension. We don't want to get extension through the lumbar, like that, okay? That's flat, and we don't want to be thoracic curved up. We want to flatten everything out. And once you get that nice flat position, it's then all about breathing, okay? So you can just breathe in the nose, breathe out the mouth. And you can just sit here for four or 5 minutes, just breathing, just feeling the muscles stretch and the straight line posture, that neutral spine. And then from here you can do other drills that we won't go into. This is just the very, very basic one. Cool, so that's the first thing. The next thing is that the reason I'm making this video as well is for Blake, and he suffers with sort of unstable / tight shoulder position, hence he comes into excessive lumbar extension to go overhead. So if he tried to come into a rib down neutral spine position, he can't go overhead, like it's locked out. So he arches through the lower back. So I'm going to just show you something now which is going to help get range through the shoulder whilst holding that neutral spine whilst we're breathing. So we're back into our pose. Back's flat, TA's on, nice and straight line, relatively relaxed. We're then going to grab a kettlebell, okay? And we can just hold it for a while, make sure we're still nice and soft, everything's in line. And then slowly, you're going to take a breath in, and you're going to hold. Breathe out, okay? So when you take that breath in, you're bracing your core a little bit tighter, because if you don't brace your core, you're going to start to arch through the lower back. So we're bracing our core. And what we don't want to happen is for us to lose that neutral spine position. And by doing this, like right now I'm cold, if I did this for a little while longer, I'd be able to get my hand down to the mat without compromising my spine or my hip position. And obviously once you can do that, once you've got a neutral spine and you've got that overhead range, then it's a good, you can start training and you're going to have that range with a good neutral position. Okay, so this is something I do all the time, especially if I'm going overhead, just to get my core switched on, that nice neutral position, and a little bit more range through my tight shoulders. Neutral position, big breath in, through the nose, holding it through the core, not up in the neck. So that's pretty much what I do, and what's really helped me is understand that neutral spine position. Once I've got it in my head, I can start doing it, and lying down helps because you've got the ground to show you where sort of a flat back position is or a neutral position is. And then, yeah, there are other drills that you can learn, like do Pilates. Pilates is great, which is core activation whilst the legs are moving, whilst the shoulders are moving. And the other thing is, and I'm going to make a separate video for this, is thoracic rotation, because once you're jammed up through the thoracic, it's quite hard to get extension and rotation. So by loosening off rotation and doing extension exercises, you can get that range to go overhead instead of getting it from your lower back, which we often see people do. You can be in a neutral position and you can get your range through the thorax, okay, through the thoracic region to go overhead. So the next video will show you some thoracic rotation and extension exercises. Okay, so thoracic extension and thoracic rotation. I'm just going to show you a couple of ways that I've been taught to do it. I'm sure there are hundreds, and I encourage you to look up ways, try different ways, and find ones that work for you. When it comes to getting range, that's kind of the easy part. Activation can sometimes be the hardest part because it's so bound up. You'll feel like you're not moving. Like obviously if you activate your bicep, there's all this movement that happens. If you activate your lower back, you can like really, there's heaps of movement. With your thoracic, sometimes it's like you feel like a tuna fish, like you're kind of stiff like a board. So the movement's very subtle. It's more of a feeling. It's more of a feeling of like tension and tightness. So I'm just going to go over a couple now. I'll start with the range, the mobility, and then we'll go into like an activation drill. So the first one for the range and mobility is you want to come into your quadruped position and you want like a neutral spine, right? So we don't want to be rounded either way. We want nice and neutral, and then you're going to put the back of your hand on your lower back, okay? And from there it's just rotation and down. And my thoracic just clicked right then, and down. So you breathe in, breathe out and lengthen. Cool. And just like anything, 10 to 15 reps, 3 or 4 sets, and we're just trying to get more range. And you should feel, I guess, the rigidness through your upper back, and that's what we're trying to increase. And like I said, mine clicked right where I wanted it on the first or second go. So that's one of them. What was I going to say about that? Can't remember. And obviously you do it on both sides. Try and get more and more rotation. I noticed a real big difference when I started doing those. They made a big difference. The next one is known as the archer, I believe. And I'm going to be lying down, so it might be hard to see. But I'm going to be going through this movement here. Okay, like you're pulling back a bow and arrow, touching it on the ground. Cool. Coming back, pulling the bow and arrow. And so check this out. A little bolster. My legs are at 90 degrees, okay? So 90 degrees out from my hips, 90 degrees down from my knees. And you want to have your shoulder blades on the ground. I can't get there, I don't have the rotation through my spine. This arm's out straight, this arm starts on top, and like I said, you're pulling the string back on a bow and arrow, trying to get your opposite shoulder and hand to the ground. Cool. And the whole point of the bolster in between the knees, if you had nothing in there and you went to twist, you know your leg might come up and you'll get range from here. You want to be squeezing this knee down, which keeps this all tight, keeps the hips facing forwards, and so it is just your spine doing the rotations. And what I was going to say before that I forgot was, when you're going for range, when you're stretching, you do it on the exhale, okay? So as you're going into range, exhale, twist into position. If you're doing activation, you do it on the breath hold. So when I was activating my core and lowering the kettlebell down, so I'd hold my breath for that one. So brace the core, try and extend, okay? When you're activating your core, getting your neutral spine braced, when you're going for range, do it on the exhale, okay? So inhale, exhale, different times for different goals. And the last one for thoracic extension. Like I said, it's a very minimal movement, but like I do it when I'm driving the car, I do it as much as possible. I just try and get that feeling. And I've noticed now over the months that, you know, if I go to do a clean or pull something off the ground, instead of being just in like settling for this position, I can just get that little bit more extension. And I'm not strong there yet, that'll take time, but it's that feeling and that constant feeling of the muscles you're meant to be activating to pull that spine into extension. So again, quadruped position, come into neutral. So you can see that's obviously not neutral. Come into neutral, okay? And then it's just cool. So I don't know how that looks on the video, if you can even tell, but I'm just getting a pinch through the upper back, and I'm just feeling like it's just pulling on that spine ever so slightly. And like I said, it's minimal, and my posture is really not good. I guess that's why I've started doing a lot more of this stuff. So yeah, thoracic rotation, thoracic extension, that sets the position of your rib cage and your spine for your scapula to sit on. Once the foundation's set, right, it's from the core to extremity, the hips are set, the core's set, the rib cage, the spine's all neutral, then we can worry about how the scapula are moving and the arms are working around the shoulder to get that range of motion. But what I've found is, when I'm in this jacked up position, so trying to get range overhead, lower back's jacked up, I can't really get range. As soon as I pull my ribs down, come into neutral, I can get range. And it never made sense to me. I was like, either way, this is at end range. If I want more arch, I've got more range through my shoulders. Now I can do an overhead squat or whatever. But something happens, right? As soon as you come into that neutral position, you pull your ribs down, you actually get more range because your scapula can move properly, because everything can move around your rib cage properly. So yeah, don't get caught in the trap of overextending, thinking you can get more range like I did for like 5 years. Set it all up properly, pull the rib cage down, have a nice braced core, have your thoracic in the right place, the shoulder blades are then going to move, and you're going to be able to get more range.